Live. Everywhere. On netrootsradio.com. David Waldman. Kagro. In the morning. Now, here's David Waldman.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How you doing? It is Monday, November 24th, 2025. Time to get going again. Get some 25s. Doubled up on the 25s tomorrow. It's Thanksgiving week. It's a chaotic week. If you are driving somewhere for Thanksgiving, the chaos probably hasn't started yet, but maybe tomorrow, maybe the day before. Thanksgiving creep brings us up a little bit further each year. People probably left last week in order to beat the traffic. If you're flying, who knows? Good luck. Don't know. I guess the airports are back on track more or less, except you never know in chaos world when everything will collapse, or perhaps they'll have to. TSA agents will be required to tackle every other person entering the building to see whether they need to be deported on any flights that'll probably compete with you for taxiing space. And whatever else has happened this weekend. We got Greg Dworkin on tap, of course, helping to bring us up to date. And then by the end of the week, well, I don't even know what's going to happen. It's a Thursday Thanksgiving show. You'll all be busy probably preparing your own meals. Even if you're staying at home and not driving anywhere, it's chaos in the kitchen. Maybe it's a good day to be with you as you prepare for those things. Friday, I got all sorts of things going on here, too. I really hadn't thought too much about what my schedule was going to be on Friday, and I really needed to give it some more thought. Over the weekend, more chaos as usual. I don't know. Actually, I don't know that I saw any travel-related chaos that was going on. Mostly, from my perspective anyway, they kept Trump more or less out of the news, and the news was elsewhere in his administration. A lot of the weekend spent on trying to figure out who is conducting American foreign policy, and not just which people in the administration are fighting for control of that foreign policy, but what country is conducting our foreign policy. As the Trump administration puts forth a couple of so-called peace plans, not just as between Israel and Gaza and the Palestinians in Gaza, but in Ukraine as well. That's actually got top billing, and somehow Jared Kushner is involved in that one too. No job in the administration, doesn't need one. He's sitting on a gigantic pile of money as it is. It was when he went into the first Trump administration. It got even bigger during the first Trump administration, and now that he's not actually in government, he's just, the pile's getting that much bigger. And, some controversy as to not only the plan that's being put forth, which is essentially, we could get peace as between Ukraine and Russia from the Russian perspective if Ukraine surrendered, or at least surrendered the parts of Ukraine that Russia has so far been able to grab, or something else. And we're not even sure what that might be. But basically, we'll come up with some other way of you capitulating here. But the question is, was that an American proposal or not? That's a serious question floating around in news world and in foreign policy world. And, I don't know whether we're going to be able to straighten out. But many other things that also haven't been making any sense as Trump creates yet more chaos for him being directly involved. We're talking about him spending the weekend yelling at TV, more or less, and saying wacky things on his Truth Social, including that everyone who is against him is essentially a traitor, and he's going to have them rounded up and put away. All right, just a regular weekend. Greg Dworkin is hanging about and is in the background. Where's my favorite little short fanfares for you? Oh, I can't.
Well, I don't know. I don't have.
Oh, well, they have there we go. Your good old fashioned Imperial Margarine one.
Yeah,
looking around like, what happened to my soundboard? It got all rearranged. They must have updated.
That's one of my favorites. There you go.
All right, good. We'll go with a favorite just to start off for a Monday. So, what did you see over the weekend?
Well, I have to admit the days all sort of tend to blend together. so it's hard to remember which
It's
is when.
getting
Like,
to
did we
that time
cover
of
that
year.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is retiring?
Oh, I don't think we got a chance to do that. I think that kind of happened after. It certainly happened
I think
after
it happened after
Thursday. It
the
may even have
Thursday
happened
show, so
even.
I don't know that we talked about it.
Yeah.
But that's going on, and
Right,
that's
right. I
that's
already forgot.
you know
Oh well, sorry,
that's
Marjorie.
worth a note or two,
Right.
right? The Epstein files are still happening. I have a nice little piece
Sure.
from
Okay.
Julie K. Brown about the
Oh.
10 Epstein files that you're waiting for. You probably
All
didn't know
right.
there were that many.
Uh,
I mean,
I didn't
different
know that the number
tranches.
was 10. I could
It's
easily
not
have
that
been
there are 10
told that there
files.
were
There's millions of
10,000.
files, but
Yeah.
there's 10 different batches
Okay. Oh.
that they come from.
Who divided them up?
You pointed out that we don't know who's conducting foreign policy, but
Right.
the answer is Russia is.
Okay. Well,
So
we
we
don't
know,
know. You know what I mean.
right?
We don't know,
As
but we
Robbie
know.
Grammer points out, Senator Mike Rounds says that Marco Rubio called him and several other senators on the 28-point Ukraine peace plan and made it very clear we're the recipients of a proposal delivered. It's not our recommendation. It's not our peace plan. It's Russia's.
Oh.
Angus King and Jean Shaheen were on the call. They all confirmed that's true. Rubio says, oh, it's not true. But again, you have to understand about this particular administration. They lie like mattresses. I mean, there's nothing that you could hear from them that you should in any way, shape, or form believe. Again, the weird thing about the way our uh, ownership of media works is that they can be caught lying 10 times till Tuesday, and the moment they say something else, it's treated as if it's absolutely serious. So you should know that the peace talks with Ukraine are going really well. Substantive stuff is being done, while Zelensky is saying this is really a turning point
Hmm.
for Ukraine, and the Europeans are saying this is garbage.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
we don't know what's going on. We don't know who's conducting foreign policy. We don't know what the results are going to be. We'll have to wait on that one.
that may or may not be important. I don't know if we're a superpower or not. So we'll have
Right.
to find out.
Other things that happened. This was fun. I use Twitter a lot. You don't. And the way that I use it is to block anything that looks suspicious. So I don't see these accounts. But MSN had a nice summary of them. Top MAGA influencers accidentally unmasked as foreign trolls. What
Yeah, that was
happened is
interesting.
that Twitter
I have an
decided
interesting
that they
piece
were
on that.
going to do, Elon Musk in his infinite wisdom decided he was going to do an experiment. And he flipped a switch, and all of a sudden, everybody could see what country your account is based in.
Now, how do they even know that? Is that an IP location thing or something? Is it whatever you've put in
Well,
as your location?
it's an IP location, but it could be changed.
Yeah.
In other words, you are where you're from, except you can change it if you want to.
Oh, well, that seems
So what
useful.
happened is nobody thought to do this because it was never visible. He didn't tell anybody. He just turned it on. And all of a sudden, MAGA influencers are shown to be from India, Russia,
Yeah.
all over the world, 50% or more of them.
Yes. Well, I should have expected that.
And so
yeah.
I sent you
Including some
some
very well-known ones.
screenshots
Oh, good. All
of
right.
examples of this because they're hysterical.
Yes.
This one happens to be from Jay in Kiev. He tells you right up front where he is.
Well, okay, I believe that. Although maybe he's not there.
Well, you could check.
Uh-huh.
How much of MAGA Twitter is being run out of Russian troll farms in Russia, Nigeria, Pakistan, and Thailand? Today's revelation is likely put it around half, and they're quickly changing their stated locations to U.S. So he's got an account from somebody named Mary Tiles.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Mary Tiles,
Circulating.
Texas. My name is Mary. I'm 30 years old. I grew up on a ranch.
I like tiles.
I drive a Dodge. I wish I drove a Tesla. Pineapple does belong on pizza. I'm voting for Trump 2024.
Okay. Woo.
Right? This is July 26, 2024. And somebody answers her, which is really hysterical. Howdy, Mary. My name is Hank Hill. I sell. And then the next two words are in Russian.
Okay.
Anyway,
Clever.
so Mary Tiles, Texas, the day that this where you're from thing is turned on. Date joined September 2022 in Russia. Account based in Russia.
Yeah.
Verified since September 2023. Great verification that they have there.
Yeah.
I don't use it. I would never
Here's
pay for that.
$8 or whatever.
3 username changes last on May 2024
Hey.
and connected via the Russia App Store. So they turned it
I've
off.
seen this. Oh, now Are we sure about
They
that? Because
realized that this was going on. They briefly again turned it off. It was briefly on, then they briefly turned it off, and then
okay.
when they turned it back on, what they had done is they had given the trolls time to
Mm,
play with their information. So this same Mary Tiles, Texas, the next day, they joined September 22, account based in the United States, but she's using a virtual private network, a VPN, so you
yeah.
can't really tell.
Right.
And still three username changes, and now she's connected via the United States App Store,
Oh, well, that's a good app store to connect via, whatever that even
right?
means.
So they carefully curated and played
Yeah.
with that, and that was going on. It was just pretty funny. And upon rollout, MSN says rival factions began to inspect just where their
Mm,
online adversaries were really based in. So
yeah.
this is really for the infighting. This is for the Civil War. It's got nothing to do
Okay,
with
good.
us. Like I said, I don't even see these. But it's
Yeah,
just
I
fun
don't
to know that
know
they
that
all
I was
started
able to
pointing
do
fingers
that.
at each other and saying, "You're not real." Oh yeah, you're not real. It's like the
Oh.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, I saw a couple of them. I mean, I don't use it anymore, but I have the account to check on things like this, like, hey, this is happening. Okay, so for the first time in a year, I'm going to go over there. Can I see these things? And I found that I couldn't because I also stopped updating my app about 3 years ago, and I think maybe you need to have the latest version in order to be able to see it. I
Well,
actually couldn't
if you
find
click
this
on the
stuff.
person and then you go to
Yeah,
their information, you could see it.
I
So it's all there.
tried, and it was, I don't know, maybe I was just clicking in the wrong place. And then I was like, well, that's like 15
It's not
seconds I
obvious. They don't have
spent
it
on
up
this.
front. You
I'm
have to go
leaving.
looking for it, but you can
Okay.
find it.
Not me. I ran out of patience.
Not
Like I
you.
said, it was just
So
slightly under half
Democratic
a minute.
influencer Harry Sisson, you may remember him. He was the No Kings guy that Trump did the video of the plane dropping bull crap on top of
Oh,
him.
yeah. Okay, I remember that video. He's the one who did that?
Yeah, Harry
Okay.
writes, this is easily one of the greatest days on this platform. Seeing
Okay.
all these MAGA accounts get exposed as foreign actors trying to destroy the United States is a complete vindication of Democrats like myself and
Hmm.
many on here who have been warning
Oh,
about this.
all right. That wasn't his video. You see the one
No,
who
that
discovered
Trump made
it?
the video of the plane
Yeah.
dropping
And he's the one
shit
that
on people.
circulated it? Yes.
He was the one that
Okay.
was
I'm trying
getting
to clarify
dropped
his
on in the
role. Oh,
video.
I didn't realize that. He was an
Yeah.
identifiable person that I did not know.
No, they picked out the guy who ran the No Kings
All right.
rallies and picked him to drum this
That's
stuff
how
on.
in
So
tune I
it was
was with that.
carefully thought out.
Okay. Anyway, so that guy enjoyed the weekend
Really
seeing
enjoyed
people
it.
identify.
Anyway, I
I
just
saw
thought I would tell you that.
one name that I actually recognized through the whole bunch was Ian Miles Chong.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, he turned up to be in United Arab Emirates, which
Yeah,
I
he
thought
had
was
moved
interesting.
from Indonesia, where he claimed he was from.
Yeah, which still like, well, why are you bothering us in this country's politics? Well, because you let me and I speak English. But yeah, I don't know, weird that we would hide that he's living in
Yeah,
Dubai or
it doesn't
whatever.
make any difference.
No, he
Nobody
was just
really
as
cares,
annoying
but it's
from
just fun
Dubai.
because it's more fodder for
Yeah,
the internecine civil war that the right is having. And,
we're still
I,
in
I
that
think it's always good to pour
mode.
fuel on those flames. I
Yeah,
just
it
think
was fun. It was good to find out. It was interesting to see, and it's interesting to see people scrambling to say, "No,
it's
I
not
am
just a
from
one-day story,
Texas."
though.
Oh,
This
rats!
this is part,
Now I
civil
missed
wars
something.
don't stop the day after because you decided that, okay, now we want to move on to something else in the
I thought
mainstream
it
media.
stopped when
They
the
are still at
PBS
each other. They're still
season was
trying to
over.
dox each other,
All right.
and more power to them.
Yeah, for by all means, let me know who else is sneaking through. And it was interesting to see how many of them this was, and a couple other countries that I didn't realize people were trolling from.
Right.
So fun.
Yeah, you didn't know Thailand was a hotbed for this.
No, Nigeria, I think, also was kind of new on me. I realized that they had a prince that wanted my money or wanted to give me his money in exchange for my money, something like that. But
Yeah, well,
I thought it was
the
limited to
fact that
that.
they started every tweet with "dearest one"
Right.
was a real clue right there.
Yeah, well, I didn't really figure I was the dearest, but I thought they were just, being gracious. Apparently not.
So,
Okay.
so I mentioned this, so I want to go over it. Julie K. Brown had this really nice
Hmm.
thread. A lot of confusion on what constitutes the
Right.
Epstein files, so let me explain.
Hmm.
First, there's the DOJ FBI federal criminal case files,
Okay.
including grand jury stuff. That's what Congress voted to release this past week.
All right. It's been a week. Well,
Yeah.
almost.
Well, she has 30 days. The oversight, remember, because Trump signed it into law, it's a law. It's not just a bill sitting on the steps of the Capitol singing. It's a law.
No law sitting on the steps of the Capitol.
The Oversight Committee
They left it
Epstein
there.
files, that's separate.
Okay.
Their files that Congress obtained from Epstein's estate by issuing a subpoena, that's where those emails came from.
Yes.
That sort of broke the
They let those out.
logjam in the
Okay.
House.
Right.
And they include Epstein's calendars, emails, and other documents that have been dripping out over the past few months. So that's what you've been seeing, Oversight Committee stuff from the Epstein estate. Very different than the
So
DOJ
exciting.
files.
Yes. The real incriminating stuff, I guess, is with DOJ.
Yeah. Then there's Epstein civil case files.
Oh.
Dozens of civil lawsuits filed against Epstein, Maxwell, that's Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's estate, Epstein's banks, and the FBI, mostly by victims. As these cases are litigated, a lot of discovery was produced implicating various people and institutions in Epstein's crimes.
Okay.
Two of the civil cases, one filed against Ghislaine Maxwell by Virginia Giffrey, and the other filed against the FBI, produced an extraordinary amount of evidence, which plain logs, message pads, emails, and the Miami Herald covered a lot of that. Now, despite the release and unsealing of portions of those civil cases, many of the documents remain sealed. So Miami Herald, New York Times, and a bunch of others have filed requests to unseal those documents.
Mm-hmm.
Separate from all of that, Treasury Department IRS Epstein files.
Wow.
Senator Ron Wyden has been in the forefront of seeking access to Epstein's financial records to see where his money came from, and that's why that's of special interest.
Uh-huh.
And by the way, I did find a video in looking at this that I do want to play. So I'm going to send it over to you, but I'll continue reading it, giving you at least a little bit of a chance.
Yeah, I'll click some buttons while you say things. That's a good plan. Let's do that.
That's our show, right? So I sent that. That's right at the bottom.
Ken Lane.
It's Jim Downey talking with Collins. So it's just he's very funny. Conan O'Brien, rather.
Oh.
And Jim Downey's just really straight-faced funny by pretending to be dumb. And so I just thought that was a good one. And it happens to be relevant, as you'll see. So after the Treasury Department files, CIA files.
Oh.
There's long been speculation that Epstein worked in intelligence. Release of the files, if they exist, would show to what extent he was involved in intelligence, which would perhaps also explain why he managed to get away with his crimes for so long.
Yeah.
FAA files. They're the ones that show where his plane was going.
Right, okay.
Plane logs.
Man, you got a lot of files on this guy.
And then last but not least, not all the claims against Epstein and associates were filed in court. Many of them were also settled through quiet agreements that may never be known. And she, Julie K. Brown, knows of some of them, so she knows this to be a fact. And there's other files there. So that's the best list I can think of summarizing the history of, quote, the Epstein files.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole lot there, which is why it is so funny that people like David Brooks and Abby Phillips on CNN saying, I'm really getting tired of this Epstein stuff. You haven't scratched the tip of the iceberg, kids. You may be tired because people aren't reading your deep thoughts about other things because they were never important anyway.
Well, we weren't reading them anyhow.
And this is way more entertaining than you ever were. But sure, go ahead. Be tired of them. That has nothing to do with the public.
Yeah, or the fact
perhaps
that you married
we'll get to that. But do you have time to roll that little video there?
Yeah, I do. Is there anybody talking about David Brooks not being interested because he married his assistant, who's like 30 years younger? No,
roll
let's find out
and see what this guy has to say.
There are many figures in our society who contribute an enormous amount to our culture, and people who have unconventional personal lives, and yet they seemed exempt from criticism. Jeffrey Epstein.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
No, let me finish. Jeffrey Epstein.
I see it.
No one, criticizes him, and yet.
Oh, wait a minute.
That is a double standard.
Jim,
it's wrong.
Jim,
and
hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. Much has been said about Jeffrey Epstein. Terrible things.
No, Jeff. I'm talking about Jeff Epstein, the New York financier.
Yes, We're talking about the same Jeff Epstein.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I never heard.
Oh, it was a big story in the news. Huge.
No.
Yes. For you to say no one ever
Jeff
said.
Epstein.
Yes.
Jeff Epstein.
Yes, the financier.
With the island.
Yes, he had an island that I've never been to.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, with respect, if there was some news about Jeff Epstein, I would have heard.
No, I don't know what rock you've been under.
That.
It was a huge story, and I have to.
This guy's
Jeff,
great.
Epstein I have to tell you, he's gone. He's dead.
What do you mean?
He's dead.
He's dead.
He's
No.
dead.
Sorry, nice try. If Jeff Epstein were deceased, I'm pretty sure I would know about it. Now, I admit I've not, probably since the pandemic, I have not talked to him.
That would make sense. That would make
But
sense. He's been dead for a number of years, Jim.
I'll tell you, there's one easy way. Let's call Ghislaine Maxwell.
No, we're not calling Ghislaine Maxwell.
Why not? Okay.
She's in prison. She's in prison for crimes she
But
committed
she might be able to get
with
phone
Jeff
calls where she
Epstein.
is.
Ghislaine's in prison.
Yes, stop calling her Ghislaine. How do you know these people? Jim.
Conan.
Jim.
All right.
Jim, listen.
Okay.
Listen
I'm
to
just
me.
saying, I'm your friend. You know what?
No, we might as well
It doesn't matter what you do in your private or personal.
I don't do anything in my private life.
Okay, you can
Okay.
stop it there.
All right. Well, I have to because that's the end of the clip.
There are-
and
there are
whoops,
many-
he wants to start it
many,
again. All right,
figures in
stop
our-
now. So who is this
That was
guy?
pretty funny.
Yeah. I don't know. He's got like a nice Captain Kangaroo mustache. Jim
Yeah.
Downey. I don't think I'm.
Jim Downey.
He's dead. He's in prison. What are you talking about? No,
Nice
not
try.
Jim. Johnny is alive, and there he is on Team Coco podcast. Apologies to Team Coco podcast for taking 2 minutes of your.
Right. So you could take
materials.
Jim Downey's view that like there's nobody's.
I
even
only wanted
talking
his
about
part.
him,
That's
and I
1
don't know.
minute.
But that's not helping anybody because
Hmm.
in fact people are talking about him. I just thought I would point all.
It
that
was
out.
a fun bit. I enjoyed it. All right. They are talking about him. That's true. That never stopped. And yeah, I saw over the weekend that let's see, Brooks. I heard about before the weekend, and then over the weekend, I think the Washington Post editorial section said, "Yeah, this is getting dumb and boring, and there's really nothing. There's no there. Let's all look away from the Epstein." I mean, you couldn't be more out of touch. And it's not just the general population thinking about it. I mean, there's a huge political story how the Washington Post could say, "I'm not interested in a Republican civil war breaking out between."
Right. That's
the
pretty much
president
what it is. We
Come
have to
on,
protect
are you kidding me?
Republicans, so of course I'm not interested in it.
So weird. All right. Well, that place has gone to hell since the rich guy bought it. I mean,
Oh,
the people who owned it
you
before were
interested
rich,
in
too.
Stacey Plaskett or any Democrats who happen to
Sure.
be associated? Oh yeah, that's a great
Yeah,
story. Let's put
right.
that on page 1.
Right. That's news somehow. All right.
That's.
Well,
But see, all of that is contributing
well-
to Trump's incredible unpopularity,
that's a good place to go with this. Sure.
which is, again, understressed, as Lakshya Jain points out. It's kind of funny because the behavior of companies suggests Trump has a 20+ approval. The discourse on Twitter and the news suggests he's break even. And the polls and the election results suggest he's probably got the lowest first-year favorables other than Trump version 1 in a generation.
All right.
Like you wouldn't know it from the way everybody talks about it, but these are actually catastrophically bad approval ratings for a president in the first year of his term. For example, he gives examples. Do you approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling his job as president? Total responses: strongly approve 25, strongly disapprove 47.
Aha. I strongly disapprove.
Right? Somewhat approve 17, somewhat disapprove 9. So you're talking about 56% disapprove. That's terrible. And in fact, in the latest poll, which was out YouGov, CBS YouGov on 11/21, disapprove is 60%, which is a new high for that poll. Approve is 40. And there's some really, really interesting things in that poll. As Matt Corradoni points out, the damning data from CBS News, voters are not buying what Trump is selling. People feel prices are going up. They're gaslit by the administration's spin.
Mhm.
They don't think the GOP is focused on what concerns them most, which is lowering rising costs. So Trump's policies are making grocery prices go up 65%,
That's not even a word. Yeah.
14% go down. Prices in the last few weeks have
Who
been
thinks that?
58% going up, and Thanksgiving, you got to go out and buy stuff. Turkeys may be ever so slightly cheaper. You're not going to see or feel that because they've gone up so much.
Hmm.
Percent saying U.S. economy is good, 32%.
Yeah.
Prices and inflation, this is the important one. Trump makes things sound better than they really are, 60%. In other words,
Okay.
he's lying and we know it.
All right. Yeah, that's a
About as they
fair
really are,
interpretation.
27% think he's telling the truth, and 13% say he's saying it's worse than they really are. These are the people who
What?
have not heard anything about Jeffrey Epstein and don't know who he is.
I guess. I mean, I don't even know how you get to that. Like, I could see where people are like, no, he's telling the truth. Things are getting better. No, he's really downplaying the situation. Is
Right. And Sam Stein
okay.
is all over this. He says these two charts are ominous for Trump. The one about approval of Trump's economy and Trump makes things sound.
Yeah.
The one about Trump's rhetoric is more problematic. It's one thing for people to not approve, Sam says. It's another for them to not approve and think you're lying to them about how things are.
Yeah.
And the
It's
use
a bad
of
time to
Trump
try to
and
do that.
lying in the same sentence or paragraph is so important.
Oh,
You
right.
have to, because he lies about everything. And there was a time where people refused to say that.
True.
Now they say it all the time.
It's good
They
that
know.
we got to that. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just pointing that out.
Well, good. I'm pleased to see that they're finally doing that. This is probably one of the worst times. I guess this through the end of the year. The holidays is probably the worst time for any president to try to tell people prices are dropping.
Right.
When they're
In
not.
fact,
like, holy cow.
Yeah, in the Reuters
everyone's
Ipsos poll,
shopping.
cost of living, he's minus 39 on. Economy minus 24, minus 22 overall, and minus 10 on immigration.
Has to be the case. Oh, that, yeah. I mean, that, I guess might have come as a surprise to some people, but certainly everybody's out shopping. They know he's lying about that. Plus, they're watching people get dragged away by cops.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Scott Anderson, the guy that writes the daily summary for this show, Kagro in the Morning. Thank you to everyone that supports this show. Many of you send donations through PayPal, Patreon, Square Cash, Radio Public, and so on. Some of you write your own essays and send them in, or read articles with your own commentary. We appreciate it. Now, some of you are listening to this and thinking, I'd like to help, but isn't there something I could do that wouldn't require money or effort? Why, yes, there is. You can just like us. On Daily Kos, they call it the recommend button. YouTube has a thumbs up. There are hearts and likes and love buttons. Tap our love button. Tap our love button every day. Share our shows and summaries on Facebook and Twitter, YouTube and iTunes, Stitcher and Amazon. Most of these places allow you to write a review, so a sentence or two would be great. Recommend us to social media, or tell your friends to listen to the show. You aren't just helping us, you're helping them find their new favorite thing to listen to. You could change the world. So thank you in advance from me and everybody else in the world.
All right, welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. Yes, we left heading into an immigration and the unpopularity of the immigration response story of several months in coming here. But of course, the continuing occupation of various American cities, which I guess Trump is targeting very often by the skin color of the mayor there in many ways. And Charlotte, North Carolina, the latest target in all this, though makes some of the least political sense in terms of doing this in the middle of North Carolina. I know that he thinks everyone will understand that I'm just Charlotte, not the whole state of North Carolina. But, you know, word on the street there is that it's very much reminiscent of the incursions into Chicago, Los Angeles, elsewhere, where normal life for normie people who up until this point said, well, oh, that's terrible. I see news about it in the newspaper all the time, but thankfully it's not happening here, are now finding their morning commutes disrupted by police chases and jump out squads. And it's the world's gone crazy.
Well, it's that, of course,
Yes.
but it's also
What is
knowing She now calls herself Mary, the waitress at my favorite diner, who all of a sudden got disappeared. And in
Yes.
every community, this is happening, and people are really upset about it. And so, again, you have the whole dichotomy. I have said this before. People liked what Trump said, and they hate what he's doing. It's true in the economy. It's true for foreign policy, although they'll give him some leeway there. Of course, people don't really care about foreign policy when it comes to voting. And then, you know, what he says about immigration. I'm only going to deport
Right.
the
Oh, the
criminals,
criminals.
which
Sure.
is a very popular stance among American voters. But that's not what he's doing, and people realize that that's not what
Yeah,
he's doing.
and so the stats are outrageous on that. But everyone, you don't need the stats. People see, I know somebody who, and they're not criminals, and sometimes they are, and you don't know it. But even so, you're right. They're people that normie Americans are willing to say, well, aren't we all criminals at some level? They have their own
But
problems.
they're not.
But-
The whole thing about the Epstein files, again, which the Washington Post, David Brooks,
Yeah.
Abby Phillips, and other people don't really seem to understand, is that
can't
it's all
Abby
part
Phillips
and parcel of the permission structure. Once you realize he's lying about Epstein, and you do realize it, everybody
yes.
knows this,
Yes.
that he's lying about that, then you start to realize he's lying about everything. So he's also lying about the immigration stuff. He's also lying about the economy, which you can see with your own lying eyes when you go to the grocery store. And of course, he's fixated on the word grocery. I like the word grocery.
I can't figure out why he thinks that's an unusual word. I guess just because he doesn't shop.
Well, partly because, he's losing it, and that's part of his dimension.
Yeah, I think that would probably have to. You'd have to hop into
words.
that to explain it. Because really, honestly, okay. Oh, you don't do the shopping in your house? No. Have you ever heard of the word groceries? Yes, of course. I speak English. Not Trump. No, it's an old-fashioned word. So very few people have heard it. All right.
No, he's fixated in the 80s. He wants 80s shows on
groceries.
Broadway. He wants 80s shows on TV.
Yes, I heard about that. There's I just saw it last night that he was demanding. He's like, Larry Ellison, they own a movie studio now. Bring back the Rush Hour franchise. I don't think I saw any of those, but
Larry's son, I think. David Ellison,
okay,
whatever.
yeah. So that's what Trump figures this whole thing is about. Well, now I'll be able to just say, I want you to bring back my favorite movies.
So
I
let's
think they
look at
played
this
out Rush Hour pretty well.
Politico stuff
Done.
here.
Okay.
This one is the price of doing this worth it? North Carolina Republicans worry about Trump immigration raids. Again, emphasis on Republicans.
Yeah.
Because only Republicans have salience. Only Democrats, can do things. Only Democrats are adults,
right,
and have agency, as they like to say.
Mm.
But only what Republicans think matters.
I guess so.
The North Carolina Republicans worry about Trump immigration raids. Concerns surrounding Trump's immigration clampdown in the Tar Heel state speak to attention at the center of the president's immigration agenda, which is to say, too long didn't read, I like what he said, but I hate what he's doing.
Okay.
And I think it's important that Republicans don't like it, because that's how you get the low numbers that you're seeing. You never get low numbers unless people in your own party think that way. And that's true for Democrats, which is why Democrats are unpopular.
Okay.
Everybody knows Republicans hate them. That's not the point. The point is Democrats are really annoyed with their leadership, but they'll still vote Democratic. We have some stories about that as well.
All right.
The Trump administration has touted its North Carolina surge as a successful operation targeting the worst of the worst criminals, but some Republicans in the state, which is to say every Republican, but the ones, at least some of them that'll talk to Politico about it, will feature one of the most expensive and hotly contested Senate races next year, Roy Cooper. Fear that message is not breaking through with voters.
Mm-hmm.
And, part of the thing here, which I think is just so remarkable, is Politico can't bring themselves to say, and Republicans can't bring themselves to understand, that what Trump is doing with immigration is all cosplay. This whole thing about targeting the bad guys is bullshit. It always has been. And the point of that is that there is no plan B to fall back on. They can't reorganize it or better message it because there's no there. It's Kristi Noem putting on a vest claiming that she's doing stuff.
Yes.
Like making swastikas great again. Coast Guard, that sort of thing. Coast Guard's in DHS. That's her shop.
Yeah. I guess that's true. I don't think I
So
thought
the
about
White
that.
House
Is
has
that
largely
really it?
focused its immigration sweeps on blue states that Trump officials have decried as sanctuaries for unauthorized immigrants, but the move to expand immigration into North Carolina, mostly in the Charlotte area,
Yeah.
offered the first test for whether the White
Mhm.
House strategy can hold up in a purple state. Former
right.
Republican Governor Pat McCrory warned that recent local coverage, like an incident at a Charlotte shopping center when masked agents arrested a man who said he was a U.S. citizen, and a raid at a local country club may hurt the GOP on an issue it has long dominated.
A country club.
Republicans had the upper hand in immigration as long as they were going after the criminals and gangs, but I think they're losing the upper hand because of the apparent disjointed implementation of arrest. It's not just mistakes, Governor McCrory. It's the entire policy is to do stuff for show without caring about where you're from. You
Yes.
can't fix that because there's nothing to
Particularly with
fix.
Border Patrol.
That's
Yeah.
what they're trying to do.
Well, yeah, I guess if you put it that way, their job
From a
is
PR
to make
and
these
political
mistakes.
standpoint, he said, for the first time, immigrations may be having a negative impact on my party. Duh. If I were the administration, I'd be really emphasizing who they've arrested and the negative impact they've had on the community. But we're not hearing that. We're not hearing that because they're not doing that, you
Right.
jerk.
Well, the stats, to the extent anyone cares, is something like 40% of the people in custody that we know about, anyway, have no criminal record whatsoever, which is just a huge mistake. But in the meantime, even the people who do have criminal records are being horribly mistreated under our legal system in these raids and arrests. And the Border Patrol in particular really just does not care. That is their job. That is to say, their job is to not care that there are laws or protections in this country, just to look
Right.
like tough guys, and everybody's supposed to be
In
afraid of
masks,
them.
who
Yeah.
are afraid of having their faces seen.
Yeah. I mean,
It's all cosplay.
it's been
All
a
of
week or two now since I saw this thing, but Bovino also spends his weekends on TV. And the thing that comes through most about Border Patrol with him in command of this thing is that they really just don't care what they're doing. They say
They don't care about the law.
People ask them.
It's going to catch up with them.
Yeah.
It just takes a while.
But people ask them, like, why are you arresting these people? There was an incident in North Carolina from last weekend where people were hanging up Christmas lights for people. Like, that's you're not going to want to tackle and haul away people who are hanging holiday lights. Like, that's kind of an American tradition. And they were, I'm sure, doing it for someone else as a service.
Well,
but
I'm convinced they only did it because somebody was trying to hang lights before Thanksgiving.
that might be.
Everybody
No,
knows you can't do that
that
until
is
after
permissible. I didn't mind that so much. I would like to arrest people who hang them before Thanksgiving, but
Right.
but that's not the
I
way
mean,
we
after
do
all,
things.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, in her resignation speech,
Oh.
had a Christmas tree up already.
Did she? Well, see, that
Yeah.
is against the
Yeah.
law.
Yeah, and that's what people are talking about. I mean, you have to look at this video and see the significance of this. Look, she has a Christmas tree up already.
Did she have her Christmas gun? It
Not
wasn't
with
in
it.
the
No,
picture.
she's,
All right.
she's a moderate
it's,
these days.
It's still wrapped. Yeah,
So
Bovino,
Edwin
though, was telling
Peacock
people he
III,
didn't
a
know.
moderate Republican who lost an at-large Charlotte City Council race to Democrats earlier
Who's
this
this? All
month,
right.
like everybody else who's losing, who's a Republican,
Yeah.
warned of the raids leaving a real sour aftertaste with voters. Is the price of doing this worth it? I don't see this cloud moving away from what will be in the voters' minds. No, it won't. No, it shouldn't. Yes, it matters. Now, do people care about the economy more? Yes. They could be more unhappy with what Trump is doing with immigration stuff, and it certainly matters, particularly if you happen to be one of the groups that they're targeting. But it matters. And trying to say, well, did you vote against Republicans because you were more angry with the economy or more angry with what they're doing with immigration policy? The answer is yes. There's no point in trying to separate them. If you're angry, you're angry. If you know you lie, they lie, then you know they lie. So, it doesn't matter. You only have one vote. Can't vote twice. If I could, I'd vote twice against them
Some
because
people
once
think they
for
can.
immigration and once for the economy. It doesn't work that way. It's a single vote, and people don't like it. And so why you're doing that in a purple state, I don't understand. I don't know who is making these decisions. They're stupid decisions.
Yeah, the decision to target Charlotte, I'm not really sure where it came from. I mean, it certainly seems like Trump himself, but it could be one of his multiple personalities inhabiting the body of Stephen Miller or I don't know. And I don't know whether I don't know how much control Greg Bovino gets over these things.
It's entirely possible he meant Charlottesville, and he's just too stupid to understand what he's doing.
Could be, right? Yeah. I mean,
That's
there
in
is
Virginia.
that. That's one of our things.
Where there were good people on both
Sure.
sides.
Right. So you could arrest everybody, and it's all right. Some of these people will be good, but it's nice to hang out with good people. So arrest them and put them in your van and talk to them. There's weirdos.
No comment about how stupid they are is off base.
Yeah.
Because they're incredibly stupid people, unfortunately,
Yes.
with a lot of power, because that's what voters decided. At least
that's what I meant to say about Greg Bovino being on TV. They were asking him about the incident grabbing the people who were hanging the Christmas lights, which is a very revealing video. And if you haven't seen it, I should dig it up and show it. But what's most interesting about it is that somebody has hired these guys, landscapers who are not working mowing lawns because they're not growing, and a winter income made by doing, hanging people. People have intricate displays of lights. They want somebody else to do it. I thought the fun in it was you doing it, but that's not, I don't know. I don't hang any. But they hired some people to do that. And when the Border Patrol came around, the homeowners chased them away with good old fashioned North Carolina. You had a twangy voice and everything, but basically with the "get the hell off my property," which was amazing to see that, that voice and privilege wielded on behalf of immigrant workers, whether that was because they thought it was genuinely unfair, and I got the sense that it did, or whether it was just, hey, I hired these guys to do this job, and now it's not going to be done if you arrest them. It didn't matter. But he was interviewed about that raid, Bovino, on TV, and his excuse was, well, you don't know. You think they're just innocent people. You don't know what their criminal records were. But the point he was making was, I also don't know what their criminal records are. He thought it was a very strong point to say they might be criminals, so we have to arrest them to find out whether they're criminals.
They speak like criminals.
That was the whole thing. He really thought that was a genuine excuse for this. They might be criminals, and once I haul them in and hit them a couple of times, we'll figure out if they're criminals or not. And
Right.
It was like, you're so close to getting it, except you're, of course, paid not to. So, like you say,
So
it's
you
just
won't
never
get
going to get it. You got to figure out who these people are before you do anything. And then when you do figure out who they are, you still can't do anything because they're not doing anything illegal.
So this one is from The Independent and quotes Eric Garcia, who's a reporter that covers immigration issues.
Mhm.
Republicans face brutal losses in key voter group over Trump migrant sweeps and affordability failure. Quote, just wake up. This is making the point I made a few moments ago that, look, you can be mad at them for both and you don't need to separate them out
Yes.
or decide which one is more important. They're both important. Latino Republicans are warning the GOP. Remember, these are Latino Republicans, therefore, by definition, you have to listen to them.
Yeah.
Latino Republicans are warning the GOP that the 2025 elections earlier this month show their party risks losing the gains. Well, they've already lost them. President Donald Trump made with Hispanic voters in 2024. It's 2025. It's already not 2024. Despite Trump's rhetoric calling Mexicans rapists, drug dealers, and criminals in 2016, he made significant inroads with Latino voters in his 2020 and 2024 campaigns. That's because of the economy, stupid.
Mhm.
These blocks helped them turn Florida from a swing state to deep red and flip states with large Mexican-American populations like Arizona and Nevada into his column. They won't stay there. He also cut into margins in deep blue states and cities such as New York City, LA, and Chicago. LA and Chicago have been targeted. New York City hasn't because he gets along so well with Zoran Mamdani.
That's another thing we haven't had a chance to discuss. Yes,
Yeah, well,
Mamdani
that's another
visited
story
on
in and of
Friday,
itself, so we'll get
we
to
didn't
that.
get to do
I
it.
do have that one.
Okay.
Trump did so on a message of lowering costs and removing the flood of illegal immigrants who came into the country during Joe Biden's open border reign.
What?
That surge in illegal immigration, remember, it's The Independent.
Oh,
This
okay.
is not, this is a Tory-leaning paper. That
What's wrong with
surge
you
in
guys?
illegal immigration from Latin America during the Biden administration frustrated many Hispanics and caused historically Democratic areas along the U.S.-Mexico border to vote Republican, often for the first time. But the
But it was
same
the-
forces that led Latinos to vote Republicans into power seem to be working against them now as Hispanics register their anger at draconian efforts to round up, deport, and detain undocumented immigrants and even some migrants in the U.S. lawfully. Many Hispanic
Even some
voters are
Americans.
voicing their anger at the high cost of living, which they see Trump as doing nothing to correct.
Yes, well, he can't.
So all of that. Now, this came as Trump sent the National Guard and Marines to L.A. to quell opposition to raids from ICE. In 2024, L.A. County, whose population a little less than half Hispanic, swung 5 points to the right, but in 2025 swung 9 points to the left. If you think about those that voted for Trump, but have like immigrant parents or immigrant family members, they certainly had this narrative. They weren't going to go after the families. Daisy Reyes, an associate professor at UC Merced, told The Independent. I think the way the policy is rolled out is definitely, that's not the way it's happening. Same as in North Carolina, I would point out.
Yeah. Yeah, Professor, I guess I have to agree.
Yeah. So
Great
all of that,
observation.
Ocasio-Cortez says, I think by nature of the fact that so many of us are first and second generation or third generation, we're very working class electorate. And that's why she endorsed fellow Democratic Socialist Mamdani ahead of the mayoral primary. Consequently, that means that economic populism is an effective message. You have to tell people in England about Ocasio-Cortez because they don't know.
Oh,
And focusing on working class people,
Yeah.
focusing on working class issues, I think is really what the moment is about. Ocasio-Cortez, by the way, also cut an ad in both English and Spanish to support Prop 50 in California. And so she's a player. And so
Yes.
that's why it's worth quoting.
Yes. And that's why extreme leftists are now mad at her for selling
Right.
out.
So she just, this article points out a whole lot of the things Trump is simply flat out doing wrong.
Yeah.
And then here is a separate article from the Washington Post going a different way, which ties everything together in terms of why this all matters.
Oh, well.
It's by
that'd be
Jason
nice to
Willick,
know.
and it says, with great presidential power comes great presidential blame. Trump has devised the most powerful executive branch in modern times. Now he owns whatever goes wrong. This is like
It's got to be true, right? He owns everything else.
This is like a Borowitz report thing. You just have to read the headline. You don't have to read the article.
Well, that's good.
But it sums it up. I mean, and it's absolutely true.
Yes.
And so Trump cannot possibly say, well, it's everybody else's fault. You've made it so that everything's about you. Okay, guess what? It's all about you.
We know that he can't do that because he is actually trying that and no one believes it. So that's how we know. It's not just a guess that, all right, yeah. I mean, he denies the responsibility, but I mean, it is the natural outgrowth of the unitary executive theory. And people say that now. I do see people writing about that and saying, if everything Trump says goes, then why isn't he lowering prices? Just do a thing.
It's all his fault.
Yeah.
And by the way, Ryan Cost and Bridget Bergen have this piece for The Gothamist, nonprofit newsroom for New York City. Mamdani and Trump love fest shakes up New York political landscape for now.
This is chaos. Yeah.
It is, because perhaps nowhere did the unexpected praise land more awkwardly. If you didn't know, they had a very cordial meeting, and Trump said, you like him. There's a lot that he does that conservatives will like. We have a lot of the same policies. And people were shocked, but they shouldn't have been. First of all, Trump only bullies people who can be bullied. And secondly, Mamdani is charming, and he really is good at politics.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It doesn't necessarily mean anybody's going to be able to copy this. This is sort of a unique skill. But
there was actually one very funny interaction with them that was captured on tape.
Oh.
Where a reporter says to Mamdani after, they've talked about each other and how well the meeting went, so do you still think he's a fascist? And Trump laughed and patted Mamdani on the arm. Mamdami's standing, Trump is sitting.
Right.
And Trump says, you can say it. It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, they know. They play that game. That was part of the interview, too, was, let's see, somebody asked him about, after Trump praised him effusively and said, we're going to get along. A lot of our policies are the same. And somebody did say, Alyssa, not Alyssa Slotkin. The other one that's got the same initials that bothers me. Elise Stefanik. I always confuse the two of them.
That's my next paragraph.
Okay. Well, I'll let you do it. How about that?
You do it.
Oh, okay. But I thought it was very interesting. One of the reporters said, so Stefanik says the guy you're standing next to is a jihadist. do you think you're standing next to a jihadist? No, I think I'm talking to a very reasonable person. It was a very nice answer and everything. It was funny and surprising. But it would be impossible for him to say, yeah, this is a jihadist I've invited to the White House. But
And I agree on his policies.
yeah. So, by the way, when they asked Caroline Levitt about that today, she'll say, well, technically the president was sitting. So it's not that he was wrong about that. He just wasn't standing next to a jihadist. That was the question. But
Right. So the Gothamist wrote up, perhaps nowhere did the unexpected praise land more awkwardly than in the New York governor's race, where Republican Representative Elise Stefanik has been relentlessly trying to tie Kathy Hochul, the governor, to Mandami since Hochul endorsed the incoming mayor in September.
Yeah.
Immediately following Friday's press conference, Stefanik dug in further. She posted a short note on Twitter calling Mamdani Kathy Hochul's jihadist and said, "You'll have to agree to disagree on this one with the president." Who wins that argument on Republican side?
Yeah.
A rare departure from somebody whose political identity is largely defined by Trump's Made America Great Again movement. Stefanik's going to be smoked,
To say the least.
and Trump doesn't care, and this is part of it. So he's not
Yeah.
going to do anything that's going to help her.
No.
Even somebody
Although-
as dumb as Trump has to understand this is not helping Elise Stefanik in any way, shape, or form to be so nice
Yes,
with.
and he did understand that. And it was a part of his comment, too, was they said, well, when he said, no, I think he's very reasonable, that's the follow-up to such as it was from the reporter was that, well, Elise Stefanik says he's a jihadist, and Trump just says, it's a campaign. You say things.
You say things, right? But Kathy Hochul had her own response, and I have to read this to you verbatim because it helps to understand why her popularity has come back.
All right.
When she was Andrew Cuomo's lieutenant governor, and
Through no
she
fault of her own.
got appointed and then won, but it was a close race. Lee Zeldin on the Republican side did better than people thought. Hochul has wavered and been very iffy about backing
Things.
off on congestion pricing in New York City,
Yeah.
which turns out to be a great thing, very popular, and is doing wonders for the city in terms of traffic. So how does she make a rebound? She makes a rebound by channeling her inner Gavin Newsom and by being much more aggressive on things, including, for example, being willing to endorse Mamdani, which is something that
In September.
Jeffries only did at the last minute. And by the way, Mamdani said, I do not support anybody trying to primary him. And Chuck Schumer never did, and Mamdani wouldn't make any commitment about Schumer. This is all
Fair
important.
trade.
That's what you do in politics.
Yeah.
I will not bother people who endorsed me, and if you didn't endorse me, too bad for you. So Kathy Hochul's been trying to make a comeback for her governor reelection campaign.
Yeah.
And the Gothamist puts it this way: Hochul hit back during a Friday night interview with Chris Hayes about Elise Stefanik. And I quote, "She's full of shit."
Oh, well, you're allowed to.
I'm
quote
sorry.
that.
I mean, she really is. This is such an extreme
Not
position.
sorry.
She's even
Come
more
on.
extreme than Donald Trump. I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah. I mean, it is when you're just trying
There's
to
no way
suck up and
Stefanik's gonna win.
pretend to be that person. Right.
Chris Coffey,
She's
a political
terrible.
strategist who worked for Mayor Michael Bloomberg, therefore is center-right, said Trump's change of tone was politically expedient and that it could undermine Stefanik's gubernatorial bid. I love the word
Well,
gubernatorial. It's so cool.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Republican, it's even cooler than groceries. Republicans are still
No one's ever
shaking
heard of
off
it.
the government shutdown. I like scofflaw also.
Oh.
And the Democratic election victories in New York, New Jersey, and elsewhere in the month. And so the political winds have changed a little bit. Coffey said the shutdown was not popular for the Republican Party. Who won the shutdown? Who won the shutdown? It was not popular for the Republican Party. Let me repeat, because
Was it popular?
adults learn by repetition. So let me say this again. Adults learn by repetition.
What?
The shutdown was not popular for the Republican Party, and Trump likes a winner. And who's a
yes.
winner? Mamdani. He
Yes.
loves being associated with winners.
Somebody did say that exactly. Like, look, you want to crack the Trump code? Trump loves a handsome winner. That's it.
Right.
He was beaming at him.
Doubling down on the jihadist line won't do Stefanik any favors, he added. That sort of rhetoric plays to the furthest right of the Republican Party. New York's a blue state, and now that the president has expressed a willingness to work with him and validated Mamdani, it makes it a lot harder to rally Republicans. It might work in her district, which is northern New York State, maybe, possibly, but no way if you're running statewide.
No. And it might not even work in her district because, I mean, there are people there who remember that, oh, yeah, wasn't she? And she was, if not a committed never Trumper, she started that way. Right. And yeah, and oh no, I'm an old school Republican conservative, and then she realized, well, Super MAGA seems to be the way to instant fame, so I'll go that direction instead. Very interesting. Right. And then of course he turns around and stabs her in the back. Awesome, just like MTG.
Right.
Cool.
So
yes. Nothing else.
Again, Marjorie Taylor Greene leaving. What does that mean?
I don't know. Who cares?
Exactly.
Yay. Yeah, it's exciting. It was fun to watch. I knew there was a manifesto in her somewhere, and she did put out, I think, a 11-minute video explaining why she was mad and leaving, and a 4-page letter with it as well. Just
the point is she's going to take some of the MAGA faithful on her side because she is one. She's not a fake MAGA person like Trump. She believes in that stuff. And there are people, and she thinks the Epstein files are important because she thinks that the government has been protecting him. And she's probably right about that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who sense that.
I don't even think she started
Not everything that Trump has said is a lie. One of the truest things he ever said was that, there's corruption on both sides and I know how to play the game. He was right about that.
Okay.
And are there people protecting pedophiles in the federal government? I'm sure there were.
Mm-hmm.
We know that. We know that in academic life it was true. People like Larry Summers and some of the people at MIT, unfortunately, and they got caught. And Ghislaine Maxwell is in jail for it. And
is she though really?
there were reporters.
I think I would have heard that.
Who were caught doing it. Including New York Times, Michael Wolff, other people. So we understand that a lot of this stuff is real, and it's important that those files come out. And it's really too bad that people like David Brooks and Abby Phillips are tired of it. But who cares what they think?
Right, exactly. He's tired of sandwich meat. One week it's sandwich meats that
tired
have
of you not paying
names
attention to my thoughtful articles about how I believe everything Democrats are doing. Therefore, you should vote Republican because that's what he writes every week.
He is pretty amazing, and that he thinks everything he thinks about is important. Really, sandwiches? That's important to you? Okay.
Salad bars.
All right. Well, salad bars and where they are and where they aren't. Oh, everything revolves around lunch, like Trump, I guess. All right. Let's do this again Wednesday. All right. Welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. I was saying to Greg during the break, I thought I could save this for later on, but I may as well put it out there now. We can discuss it on Wednesday. We're so pressed for time as it is that we may not come back to it. But Scott has sent me a note here that just the fun election season can roll on, and we got an interesting way to jumpstart things again after the recent general election. A special election coming up, of course, has got to happen fairly soon in New Jersey's 11th congressional district, which is where Mikey Sherrill, I guess, still sits in Congress, but is likely expected, if she hasn't already, resigned, but ought to or will probably soon to become, to assume the governorship because she won the gubernatorial election. Will now assume the governorship in New Jersey in the new year. She may resign sometime soon because there's going to be undoubtedly a lot of preparation work that goes into the transition. It might actually demand her time. Perhaps they could make things work easier since she's taking over from a Democratic administration, a Republican administration. First of all, it's been a while since there was one in New Jersey, but I guess they could make the transition a little harder, and she would have to resign earlier to do her studying up on things. But I don't know. So she may sit until January, and then resign just ahead of her own swearing in. I don't know when they swear in the governor in New Jersey, but it seems to me like a lot of the states are kind of like, first day or two of January. They don't wait for the 20th like the presidency. There's no reason to. And they'll do it New Year's Day or thereabouts. So we could look that up. Anyway, what I was going to say is, so they're going to have a special election in New Jersey's 11th district very soon. And I don't know how many other candidates there are, but I don't care because Scott tells me the comedian, but also lawyer, I guess we know him as JL by his initials, JL Cauvin, Cauvin, in case you want to look it up. And you should, and you'll recognize him. I think he's been doing, among his other things, one of the best Trump impressions going. He's even got some of the facial expressions going, although he doesn't bother painting himself orange, but the voice is really great. And the mannerisms and the structure of the speech, there's some people have little parts of it and not everybody, gets it together in all phases like he does. So, and I don't know how big of a part of his comedic career that actually is, or whether it's just sort of silent. I don't know if he does jokes on stage as Trump, but anyway, he's got a great Trump voice, and he's jumping into the special election. He lives in that district. I think he said he was in Bloomfield, New Jersey. So yeah, I guess so. The New Jersey 11th district, my hometown of West Orange, is not in the 11th. It's sort of bumped one over, but definitely has been in that district and overlapped over the years with the parts of New Jersey that the 11th now represents. And the next town over, Livingston, I think, is in the 11th district. Anyway, and West Orange is now in the 10th district, and that's McIver's district, not MacGyver escaping from crazy situations. McIver, who, of course, has got to escape from a crazy situation, being prosecuted by the Trump administration. But anyway, J.L. Cauvin jumping into the race, that should make for good times. I don't know who else is running. I don't know whether he's, considered to have a shot at this or not. But it is a special election, which means it's happening soon, which means it would be great fun at a minimum. But he's actually, part of the reason that his Trump impression is so good is he's a smart guy. He's really sharp, and he's got a full command of all the events of the day. She's as much a news junkie as you or I. So I can't say whether or not you should run over there and give him your money, but he certainly could use it. If you feel like jumping in to support him, let me know. And also, though, if you do, please do some research and figure out who else is running and let me know, because I actually don't know. And it would be nice to be able to play in that special election. It's in New Jersey. It's in a section of New Jersey that very likely will, it was Mikey Sherrill's district and she just won. I don't know if she's going to go out of her way to endorse in this one or not, but it will be presumably another opportunity for a big election win. It won't change the numbers in Congress, but it will be exciting to have a win. It would be very exciting to have a win with somebody who got national attention because they did a funny Trump impression as well. And whether or not the Trump impression will be a part of his floor routine should he win election to Congress, I don't know. I think he'll do the Al Franken kind of thing where he'll separate the two phases of his life quite nicely. And as I mentioned, he's a lawyer, and so, he won't be any stranger to that kind of work and that kind of thinking. So you needn't worry about that. He's not just a comedian, though he is that. So, all right, I don't know. I thought that was of some interest, and I'm going to have to remember to send that to myself so that I can put that in the roundup, although since Scott sent it to me, presumably that is still available to him. I'm going to have to do some searching to try and find the stuff from Charlotte that I mentioned earlier. But now let me open up Instapaper and share some of the great things I have there for you. There was a very nice summary of the story that Greg brought up about how on X, Elon Musk created chaos by turning on that function that identifies where people's accounts are based. And Private Jarhead over at Daily Kos did, I think, a nice summary. It was up at the top of the recommendation list as a result, I think. A nice summary of the very large number of people and a good sampling of the large number of people who were exposed as foreign trolls. in all of this, and the various write-ups from the various outlets and how they were treating it. I thought that was very interesting. Numerous top MAGAX.com/Twitter accounts, says the headline, revealed to be foreign agitators after new feature rollout. Again, private Jarhead, which you'll find is in PVT, private. Jarhead is spelled out in full, on the other hand. So have a look there, and let's see. First, he grabs, and I don't know whether these are, I should look. The first piece here is from the Daily Beast, and I'm wondering, was he just borrowing their headlines and using his section titles? And they're not. I guess it's him putting a spin on each one of these things. So this is what made it, I thought, a useful piece. Musk and MAGA are suffering a self-inflicted injury, he begins, and then just jumps right into, and all that seems to be up at the top is a collection of block quotes from the various publications covering the story. But this is a great roundup, not a generalized abbreviated pundit roundup, and it's not even that abbreviated, but a generalized newspaper roundup on a big story. I appreciate it. So Daily Beast tells us this: Elon Musk's social media site X has rolled out a new feature, as Greg told us, in an effort to increase transparency, although why he did that to them, I don't know, and unwittingly revealed that many of the site's top MAGA influencers are actually foreign actors. The new About This Account feature, which became available to X users on Friday, allows others to see where an account is based, just like he told you, when they joined the platform, and how often they've changed their username, and how they downloaded the X app. Upon rollout, rival factions began to inspect just where their online adversaries were really based on the combative social platform, and that's a funny way of putting it. True, it's now a combative social platform. That's why I don't like it. With dozens of major MAGA and right-wing influencers' accounts revealed to be based overseas. Then Private Jarhead jumps in with another one of his subheaders here. They've spent years stoking division in America, and jumps now to the New Republic, where I guess I should be crediting the writers of these things, but there's a lot of clicks involved in doing that. The New Republic piece, I forgot to do it for the Daily Beast one, but that one, so the New Republic is, where's our byline? Rachel Kahn, who tells us that another popular conservative account, MAGA Nation, with nearly 400,000 followers, and a bio that reads, "Standing strong with President Trump," and an American flag emoji, ironically enough. America first, patriot voice for we the people, apparently based in Eastern Europe. And then a little bit later on says, Twitter users rounded up dozens of these accounts, sharing their disbelief. Some Democratic influencers rejoiced. There's Harry Sisson, that's who Greg told us about. He may have seen the New Republic piece on this. A Gen Z pro-Biden creator said, "This is easily one of the greatest days on the platform. Seeing all these MAGA accounts get exposed as foreign actors trying to destroy the United States is a complete vindication of Democrats like myself and many on here who have been warning about this." And that's an overall good point. That's been the warning for a long time. Sisson also compiled his own list of foreign accounts, which is linked herein, and you can find on his Twitter account. But I don't go to Twitter very often, so I try not to. So I'm not going to do it now. But there were some rumors that Musk had disabled the feature upon seeing so many of his biggest fans unmasked. But as of Sunday, it seems to still be intact. But I don't think that's a contradiction of what Greg told us, that it may have been shut off, tweaked, tinkered with a little bit, but certainly gave people time to scramble and change their profiles and then turned back on. That's what I saw yesterday as I was reviewing things, that there were people saying, oh, yeah, so of course Musk turned it off as soon as he found out that was the case. And I saw some other people saying, no, people keep saying this, but it's still on. I just checked and it's on. Oh, that's true, but it doesn't mean it was on the whole time. That could be true, too. Now, back to what Private Jarhead was saying, another of his subheaders. Now their arrogance has blown up in their faces, he says, by way of illustration, for which he now takes an excerpt from a piece in The Guardian, once again trying to credit people with this, so the pop-up makes it harder. Marina Dunbar, in her piece, many prominent MAGA personalities, I could say MAGA, that's probably how they say it, on X are based outside the U.S. Well, what else? What's the clip here? Another user also uncovered several additional cases. Dark MAGA, and a smaller account with roughly 15,000 followers, is run from Thailand. MAGA Scope, which has more than 51,000 followers, operates out of Nigeria, while MAGA Beacon is based in South Asia. Users on Reddit also joined the expose effort, posting examples of accounts that appeared to misrepresent their origins. One Reddit user posted a screenshot of a woman who claimed to live in Texas, but really appeared to be located in Russia, and that I think is the Mary Tiles one. Let's see, the username in the post appears to have a U.S. location. That's why it was, Mary Tiles, Texas, right? Many in the comments posted other examples that they found. Bots spreading misinformation and propaganda has been a long-running problem on Twitter, a problem that has been significantly exacerbated since Musk bought it in October of 2022, then renamed it. Its chatbot, Grok, also has been found to frequently make and amplify false claims. Then another comment from Private Jarhead. The new feature was in the works for a while. And for this, he features the embedded tweet of Nikita Beer, B-I-E-R, who says, when you read content on X, you should be able to verify its authenticity. This is critical in getting a pulse on important issues happening in the world. As part of that, we're experimenting, I guess he's on the team there, with displaying new information on profiles, including the country in which the account is, and then that's really all you need to know, but it continues on. But where the account is what's being displayed. The hits keep coming. This time an excerpt from Raw Story. And whose Raw Story isn't? David McAfee, who says podcaster Matt Binder posted screenshots that Charlie's Voice Rising, a popular Charlie Kirk fan account, is based in Eastern Europe, a non-EU Eastern Europe. Dem influencer Dreamleaf wrote, this one is great, along with evidence that a MAGA account called America Man is actually based in Indonesia. And it doesn't sound like a foreign stab at being a super American account. America Man. Patriot Takes, which is dedicated to research, monitoring, and exposing right-wing extremism and other threats to democracy, drew attention to a post Trump himself had shared. Which one? I don't know. I guess we could click through, but you get the idea here. And Private Jarhead climbing back in. By the way, I've warned of, we'll say stuff like this before, linking to previous posts about this. This also from Reddit, I guess. It just says Reddit and then no screen shot here or no clip, but MAGA voters were fooled by Musk, apparently also an issue here. All right, well, it's a video is what it links to on Reddit, and it moves around quite a bit, and I can't actually see it without vomiting. So, all right, we'll skip it there. But all right, thanks to Private Jarhead for summing things up so nicely and pointing you to several different accounts across new media that covered the issue. Who was it, by the way, who wrote for the Daily Beast on the first one that we grabbed was Jack Reville. And so, all right, everybody got their credit there for that one. But thanks to Private Jarhead for putting all of those together in one place. And now back to Instapaper to try to bring you some of the other bits of chaos. I thought this might be helpful in terms of summing up the foreign policy confusion. There are a lot of good takes on that too. Heather Cox Richardson, usually a good source for just about anything, in her Letters from an American Substack, begins to discuss this. Now, we think it's Letters from an American, but we don't know for sure, do we? Until we can find out what her location is. But by all accounts, she is in fact American. Could be Russian and pretending to be American, but she's doing a very good job, and we're waiting for the big reveal at some point. And when will they take off the mask, reveal that she's Russian, and for what purpose? That probably will never happen. Heather Cox Richardson writes, beginning with a quote that I did see on Blue Sky over the weekend from Ann Applebaum, who is quoted here as saying, do I understand correctly that there is now a dispute within the administration, the American administration, about whether this, quote, peace plan was written by Russians or Americans? Foreign Affairs journalist Ann Applebaum asked last night on social media, like the fact that you have to point that out. Not only is there It's bad that there's a question who wrote it, but it's also bad that the question is being asked inside the administration that claims to have written it. Applebaum was referring to confusion over a 28-point plan, and that's a lot of points to believe that the Trump administration came up with it. 28-point plan for an end to Russia's war on Ukraine, reported by Barak Ravid and Dave Lawler of Axios last week. And lots of people saying, oh boy, did Axios get taken for a ride on this one. After the plan was leaked, apparently to Ravid by Kirill Dmitriev, an ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin, who is under U.S. sanctions, Vice President J.D. Vance came out strongly in support of it. And really, now I'm feeling like, hey, I don't even understand how you get fooled. If you're the reporter for Axios and the plan is leaked to you by a Russian, but a Russian under sanctions, like, where did the plan come from? Russia. Well, he could have been leaking an American plan. He could have been. But since this is so obviously pro-Russian, I mean, and you're Russian, and the bad kind, the worst kind of Russian, the sanctioned one. Anyway, apparently that wasn't enough. But as scholar of strategic studies Phillips P. O'Brien, we hear from him all the time via Greg, noted in Phillips's newsletter. All right. Once it became widely known that the plan was written by the Russians, Secretary of State Marco Rubio tried to back away from it, posting on social media on Wednesday that, quote, ending a complex and deadly war such as the one in Ukraine requires an extensive exchange of serious and realistic ideas. If anybody has any, please call me. And achieving a durable peace will require both sides to agree to difficult but necessary concessions. That's why we are and will continue to develop. Misstated there, but that's very genuinely Marco Rubio. Let's dispel with the notion, or whatever it was. He got the wrong one in there that one time. All right. Anyway, that is why we are. We would say something else in there, but that is why we are and will continue to develop. That is why we are now and will continue to be developing, I would have said, a list of potential ideas for ending this war based on input from both sides of this conflict. And yet, by Friday, Trump said he expected Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky to sign on to the plan by Thanksgiving, next Thursday, November 27th. It's an interesting and artificial deadline, but it must have made so much sense to Vladimir Zelensky, who's like, Thanksgiving is your holiday. I mean, it might be a fine idea for all people around the world to give thanks on a certain day, but of course, even your Canadians don't agree on which day it's going to be. So, I mean, it's a dumb artificial deadline on top of everything else, and purely for American consumption. But okay, he wants him to answer by Thursday. Former Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said, quote, Putin has spent the entire year trying to play President Trump for a fool. Rewarding Russian butchery would be disastrous to America's interests. I mean, those are two good, true statements. I don't know where he's going with it or where he'll be able to go with anything because he has no power or juice in any of this. Yesterday, a group of senators, foreign affairs specialists, themselves, I guess, gathered in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Is this supposed to be a group of senators and some other foreign affairs specialists? I don't know. They gathered in Nova Scotia for the Halifax International Security Forum. And all right, I get you. Gathered is not the verb here. It's the descriptor of what part of speech are we talking about? That's where they were. Some senators and foreign affairs specialists gathered in Halifax. Since they were already gathered in Halifax, that was a good place to ask them what's going on. Get it? All right, now I understand what's happening. They didn't just say, you know what, we need to speak to the press. Let's all go to Halifax. They were already there. All right, so they told reporters they had spoken to Rubio about the plan. Angus King said Rubio told them that the document, quote, was not the administration's position, but rather, quote, a wish list of the Russians. All right. Mike Rounds of South, is that right? I think they got this wrong here. Where is Mike Rounds from? I thought they have him listed here as Is this not going to tell me? Is South Carolina. Right. But he's not the governor or the senator from South Carolina. He's from South Dakota. All right. Well, I don't know. It's been happening increasingly these days. But that's one of the things about getting your news via a newsletter that one person publishes and, doesn't proofread. I wouldn't proofread mine either, by the way. I don't do that. That's not what blogging is about. Okay, so Senator Mike Rounds, who's really from South Dakota, said, this administration was not responsible for this release in its current form. He added, I think he made it very clear to us that we are the recipients of a proposal that was delivered to one of our representatives, Rounds said. It's not our recommendation. It's not our peace plan. But then a spokesperson for the State Department, Tommy Pigott, really? Okay. Like spigot, but no S. But actually, and then instead of the S, you take off the S at the beginning for savings, and then turn it into a T and put it at the end. So the Pigott. Tommy Pigott called the senator's account of the origins of the plan, quote, not just incorrect or anything like that, blatantly false. What? And Rubio abruptly switched course, posting on social media that, in fact, the U.S. had written the plan. What planet is this? Anton LaGuardia, diplomatic editor of The Economist, posted, quote, State Department is backpedaling on Rubio's backpedal. If for a moment you thought the grown-ups were back in charge, think again. We're still in the circus. Unbelievable, mutters one of the disbelieving senators. Later that day, Aaron Banco and Graham Slattery of Reuters reported that the proposal had come out of a meeting in Miami between Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and Dmitriev, who leads one of Russia's largest sovereign wealth funds. What would they be doing meeting with the Russian sovereign wealth fund? The hedge fund guys, for instance. Like, what's his name? Jared Kushner. They reported that senior officials in the State Department and on the National Security Council were not briefed about the plan. And why tell the National Security Council, right? Good question. Who needs to know? And Jared Kushner, by the way, could you be convinced to carry a plan forward and say it's not the Russians in exchange for, say, some number of billions of dollars of investment from a Russian sovereign wealth fund? Yes. And wouldn't that be illegal? Because after all, you're in the government. Oh, you're not in the government. Oh, that is interesting, isn't it? Oh, well. This morning, probably yesterday, Bill Kristol of the Bulwark reported rumors that Vice President J.D. Vance was, quote, key to embrace of Russia plan on Ukraine. Key to U.S. embrace. Key to the U.S. embrace, okay, of the Russia plan on Ukraine, comma, Rubio and even Trump out of the loop. So it was a little, let's not even structure a sentence kind of dispatch on social media, I guess. So Bill Kristol says, Vance was, quote, key to U.S. embrace of Russia plan on Ukraine, Rubio and even Trump out of the loop. He posted that relations between Vance and Rubio are awful, and that Rubio did, in fact, tell the senators what they said he did. But who knows? I don't even know which one of the things that he said is that he's referring to. Yaroslav Trofimov. Okay, that's my best guess. He's the chief foreign affairs correspondent for the Wall Street Journal, by the way. Yaroslav is. And he posted, foreign nations now have to deal with rival factions of the U.S. government who keep major policy initiatives secret from each other, and some of which work with foreign powers as the succession battle for 2028 begins, is how one diplomat put it. In other words, chaos in your outward-facing foreign affairs. Who's in charge? Who's authorized to speak about what's being floated or where it came from? The State Department guys fighting the other guys. And eventually, remember, of course, in all of this, you're eligible to hear from Laura Loomer, who will say, I don't actually like what Marco Rubio is doing, and I can't believe it, and President Trump should throw him in Guantanamo and take my suggestion instead. And there's even odds that will happen. But yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Foreign nations now have to deal with rival factions of the U.S. government who keep major policy initiatives secret from each other, and some of them aren't even in government, like Jared Kushner etc. So how do you even monitor that? And some of which work with foreign powers. And I guess maybe the ones, if you're in the government and working with a foreign power, you're in certain kind of legal trouble. If you're out of the government and working with a foreign power, but trying to influence our government to listen to that foreign power, you're in a different kind of trouble. All of which is to say that the United States has known for a very long time that this is a very dangerous situation and has made it illegal to do things this way. But as Trump says, to hell with the law, and now we don't know who's representing the United States and who they're talking to and whether or not the people they're talking to represent anyone either. The elections of 2026 and 2028 are clearly on Republicans' minds as polls show Trump's policies to be increasingly unpopular. And there's more. And I think I'm going to have to return to this because it sets the table for a lot of other things. Or, well, if it doesn't set the table, it rounds things up, certainly, that we have discussed. I see MTG involved in this one. We'll be right back. Hi, everybody. It's me, David Waldman. Yes, the same guy who interrupts you all the time. Interrupting you one more time just to tell you again, another reminder that your contributions are what keep this show on the air, and Patreon.com, Patreon.com, is still among the easiest ways to make the sustaining subscription donations that keep us afloat. Are you ready for the pep talk about how our Patreon campaign is still going strong and growing? Well, too bad. Yeah, the plain fact is we actually are headed in the wrong direction, and whereas we once had about 175 monthly patrons, we're now actually down below 150. Time to recruit some more. Not exactly the kind of news I wanted to share, but there it is. For those of you in a position to support the show, Patreon.com does make it easy to make those secure, recurring monthly contributions to do so. Patreon.com/KagroX gets you straight to our donation page. We've been through a lot together. The worst of the pandemic, we hope. The worst of the insurrection, we hope. So go ahead and treat yourself. You don't need an excuse. Give yourself the gift of a little something you enjoy in life. Support the show. And of course, if you happen to prefer using PayPal or even the Square Cash app, we're up and running on those options too. So thanks again, everyone, for all your support. We couldn't, or at least shouldn't, do it without you. Hope you'll be on board soon too. Thanks for all your support. All right, welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. We got another segment left here, and we were in the middle of Heather Cox Richardson's latest dispatch, which I think shifts from the foreign policy chaos now into sort of a general roundup of things, which, well, you know, to be honest, we've already gotten at this point. But I like to see other people's take on these things, and it's a good launching point or segue into some other things that I wanted to work into the discussion that we didn't have time to get to while Greg was on. It notes here our transition becomes on Friday. Trump met at the White House with New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. Although Trump had previously called Mamdani a, quote, communist lunatic, you know, basically, this is a good theme here. Like, Republicans say XYZ about, ABC topic. Oh, no, actually the exact opposite. We just switched our position. Russia wrote this thing. No, actually, we did. No, actually, we didn't, but someone else, that's blatantly false. Actually, that's now the operative truth. Sure, we're just going to change to that. And here, he's a communist lunatic. Actually, never mind. He's actually really great. So, okay, he's called Mamdani a communist lunatic and a, quote, stupid person, unquote, and had threatened to withhold federal funding from New York City if Mamdani won. The meeting, though, was friendly. Trump, who has seemed warm and affable since snarling quiet piggy to a reporter on Air Force One on November 14th, praised the mayor-elect and said he'd, quote, feel very comfortable, unquote, living in New York City after Mamdani takes the reins. That's an interesting transition all by itself, but let me just stop and back up again. I hadn't seen anybody suggest, and I don't know whether I buy the suggestion, but I hadn't seen anybody suggest that, well, the backlash from the quiet piggy thing means somebody advised Trump, you've got to be more, you got to clean up your act and be more friendly. You can't always be screaming at everybody in everybody's face all the time. And so is that what made him say, well, all right, why don't I throw everybody a bone and be nice to Mamdani? I think that that probably had more to do with what Mamdani did and how he handled the situation than what Trump went into the situation with. Because he had a track record for, there's really no reason why he couldn't have continued to just bash him the way he did. But it's entirely possible. Oh, and one other suggestion. Thanks, Mom, chiming in. I think they changed Trump's meds. That could be. I mean, we haven't been seeing the bruising on the hands lately, or even the bad makeup job trying to cover it up. So maybe there's some change in it. Or it was just you didn't have to get the injections this week. So he was just happy about that. I don't know. Anyway, I mean, I think they met, and Mamdani, you don't have to be a genius to figure out, you can manipulate Trump, and you can, even if you're being brought in there to get bashed, you can flatter the hell out of him in private and then have him treat you very nicely afterwards. He's that simple. And he's said as much. If you treat me nice, I'm going to be nice to you. So he tried it out, and it was really true. Trump's friendly banter with Mamdani appeared a way to acknowledge voters' frustration with the economy. And that, too, is, by the way, another 180-degree about-face that Trump's been involved in right now. I don't want to hear any more about this affordability. It's a made-up issue. It's a hoax. Actually, it's very popular, sir. All right, I love it. I'm into affordability. I'm making everything cheaper. I'm not, but, I'm going to say so. During his campaign, Mamdani promised to address those economic frustrations. Trump told reporters, "We agree on a lot more than I thought. I want him to do a great job, and we'll help him do a great job." This embrace of a politician MAGA Republicans had attacked as a communist and jihadist, don't forget jihadist, left Trump's supporters unsure how to respond. One of the most amazing things I thought over the weekend in the Republican attempt, the MAGA attempt to deal with that chaos, was the Friday reaction on the spot for the most part was, oh my God, Mamdani is just so good at what he does, he totally rolled Trump. He just came in there and he flattered him, and Trump is beaming at him and saying he's going to be great, and I can't wait to work with him, and sure, I would live in New York, and if to the extent that, what's her name, Stefanik said, I think he's a jihadist. No, she's wrong. I mean, that was kind of surprising and all, but, it's just, now I'm trying to think, where was it that we were going with this one? He does a 180 on that, but he also did a 180 on, and the economics things, and are prices going up or down, or is affordability a real issue or not a real issue? There was, now I can't even remember, but he was going to withhold the funds from New York, and he's going to reverse on that. Oh well, that was a fleeting thought. That's weird. How old am I? And here's what's happening. Yeah. Oh, right. He's a communist and a jihadist, and all of that got flipped as well. Well, maybe it'll occur to me as we read on. That's too bad. But I was just trying to set it up and just show how it was of a piece with the rest of it. All right. Well, let's see. We agree on a lot more than I thought. I want him to do a great job. We'll help him do a great job. This embrace of a politician MAGA Republicans had attacked as a communist left Trump's. Oh, yes, that's right. Left Trump's supporters unsure how to respond. Right. It looks like the MAGA and Republican response, which took anywhere from an hour to a day longer to come up with than the immediate reaction from anywhere else, was, oh, well, it's not that Mamdani figured out Trump and rolled him for this meeting. It's Trump was playing 10,000 dimensional chess, and he played Mamdani. Now he's praised Mamdani, and the left doesn't know what to think. I loved Mamdani until 5 minutes ago. Trump praised him, so I therefore reflexively have to hate him. I don't know what to think. He's sold out. Mamdani's already sold out before he's even mayor. And there was just literally nobody thinking that. I think universally the view of this from the left, whatever that might mean, was, nah, he went in there and he charmed the pants off of Trump, but it's not that hard to do anything to get the pants off of Trump, I would assume. Those pants will drop in a minute if you ask. Just don't ask. Anyway, that I thought that was really interesting, and I think I saw somebody paraphrasing. I guess Sean Hannity spent his weekend assuring everybody that what really happened here is that Trump bamboozled Mamdani. So, yeah. The MAGA Republicans had attacked this guy, and now they were the ones unsure about how to respond. So they figured, I know what to do. Every Republican accusation not only is a confession, but every Republican accusation going forward must be a confession in order to stay in compliance with that law. So here's what we'll have to do. You think we were confused by this? Actually, you were confused by it. I think we could have predicted that. Now, also on Friday, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who we still know here as Murdery Traitor Greene, even though that puts us in agreement with Donald Trump, who also thinks she's a traitor, that's okay. I can stick by those guns. On Friday, she announced she's resigning from Congress. Her last day will be January 5th, 2026, days after she secures her congressional pension. It was pointed out here in this piece, but also credit there for Mighty OCD, who sent me the note that was in fact the case. But yeah, I see it's come up in the reading as well. So we'll just say great job, good spot on that one. I guess she would qualify for her pension. I understand it's a 5-year thing. So she was elected in 2020, would have come into office on January 3rd, 2021. Maybe that was a Sunday or something, and they followed that old rule and swore them in on the 4th. I don't remember. And then, of course, January 6th, 2021, big day over there. So she doesn't make it 5 years from January 6th, though. But 5 years, she secures a congressional pension. She doesn't need it, by the way. Apparently, one of the many members of Congress who vastly increased their net worth during their service. She's in Congress 5 years. I understand the figure that was bandied about when I saw this last weekend as people were reacting to her resignation. $21 million increase in her net worth. I mean, she came in not fabulously wealthy like some of the other people in Congress, but well-to-do. Her father owned the construction business, and just sort of she inherited it, and then she got into CrossFit and opened up a CrossFit gym. So it wasn't like she was a maybe her assets were in the multi-millions of dollars. But she's added 21 million or so in investment income since then. And that includes the tremendous losses she took investing in Trump coin. So, she's done fairly well for herself, but now she's going to take a public pension because of how MAGA she is and how she shouldn't be depending on the government. That whole thing. So I guess if you're thinking if you wondered whether her thinking is reformed, not the hypocritical part of it, certainly. We'll see whether any of the rest of her life is changed. There is the possibility that she's come to the realization, just as she said, that the toxic politics are terrible and a problem, because that would be sort of par for the course with the Republicans saying, those death threats can be leveled against me. Now I'm against that, as opposed to I used to love to level those death threats against others. As I keep reminding you, she came to. Well, she didn't come to my attention this way, but one of the earlier things that she did for which she was infamous, I find abhorrent. But yeah, now she's worried about her security and the threats to her security from other people, when she was the one who frightened AOC's staff so badly that they had to lock the door against her, and she ended up screaming at them through the mail slot in the office door. Well, that'll do it. Anyway, so here she is retiring just after securing her pension, and as it says here in her 4-page announcement, she maintained she was frustrated that those like her, who she said represent the common American people, not the $21 million American people like her, but the common American people, cannot get their measures passed because, quote, the political industrial complex of both political parties ignores them in favor of corporate and global interests. Well, is she a leftist or not? She blamed Trump for forcing her out of Congress. very weak, saying, I have too much self-respect and dignity. You do have a little too much self-respect. That's true. I agree with you there. You should have a lot less. And dignity. Love my family way too much, at least parts of it anyway, and do not want my sweet district, to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms. So spending all that money to battle your way all the way back to end up in the minority is probably not a hot prospect for her. And in turn, to be expected to defend the president against impeachment after he hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me and tried to destroy me. Yeah, well, everything Trump touches dies, so what can I tell you, lady? You seem to have missed that memo. Green appears to be shifting to fit into a post-Trump future when the common American people finally realize and understand, common, you shouldn't be using that, the political industrial complex of both parties is ripping this country apart, that not one elected leader like me is able to stop Washington's machine from gradually destroying our country, and instead the reality is that they, common Americans, the people, possess the real power over Washington, she wrote, then I'll be here by their side to rebuild it. So I guess back to podcasting for her. Another scandal coming from the cabinet will not help the administration dig out from its cratering popularity. Just after midnight Friday night, the former fiance of the journalist who had a romantic relationship with the Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. dropped another installment of his version of the saga. It included a graphic pornographic poem, yay, that would have ended a cabinet member's career in any normal administration, but this isn't one of those, I guess. The ex-fiancé said other poems he had found were even more explicit. So how about that? I didn't read the poem. Hope never to read it. I'm not actively avoiding it. I just was like, I heard this morning somebody cracking a joke about RFK poems. So how do you like that? That's fun. So I guess you all know the story behind that one. You know who they're talking about? I hope so. I don't want to talk about it. This revelation came the day after Kennedy acknowledged that he had personally told the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, to change information on the CDC website. I meant to talk about this with Greg. To say the claim that vaccines do not cause autism is not, quote, evidence-based. This, by the way, I saw it speculated on social media, specifically Blue Sky, that this was a curious, this was RFK Jr.'s way of, I guess, staying in compliance, and I don't know why he's bothering, with a promise that he made during his confirmation hearings to, was it Bill Cassidy? If I can vote to confirm you, will you promise that you won't take down the information on the CDC website that says vaccines don't cause autism? Because I think that's what you want to do. Oh, I promise I'm not going to do that. So instead, what he did is put up more information. It says, actually, we're leaving this information here, but it's not true. And we don't believe it. So also not helpful. Why Cassidy would believe that counts as honoring your pledge to me. What's the difference? Who cares? Whether he honored his pledge to you or not. You should never have voted for him in the first place. I can see you regret it. Just admit it and say you want him removed. Anyway, so that's of some interest. As Cheryl Gay Stolberg of the New York Times notes, Kennedy admits that studies have shown no link between vaccines and autism, but wanted to change because there are still other studies to be done. None of these have concluded that there's a link, but there could still be a study that does conclude that if we do it wrong. So let's keep the door open for that one. As Stolberg wrote, he said he is not saying vaccines cause autism. He's simply saying that there's no proof that they don't, which of course everyone knows that is not how this works. Kennedy is neither a doctor nor a scholar of public health, and Stolberg notes that it is highly unusual for a health secretary to personally order a change to scientific guidance, especially if they're not a scientist. In order to get support for his cabinet nomination, Kennedy promised Senator Bill Cassidy, Republican of Louisiana, a physician, that he would not remove from the CDC website a statement saying that vaccines do not cause autism. That statement is still at the top of the autism and vaccines page on the CDC website, but now it has an asterisk keyed to a footnote saying that it had not been removed because of Kennedy's promise to Cassidy, and the text of the page says that studies supporting a link have been ignored by health authorities. Today, what else? CNN's Jake Tapper said to Cassidy, he lied to you. Cassidy answered, well, let me first say what is most important to the American people. Speaking as a physician, vaccines are safe. As has been pointed out, it's actually not disputed. It's actually quite well proven that vaccines are not associated with autism. There's a fringe out there that thinks so, but they're quite fringe. President Trump agrees that vaccines are safe. Cassidy tried to suggest that focusing on Kennedy's lie was titillating, but that Americans needed to move on. Tapper answered, this isn't about titillation. This is about the fact that you're the chairman of the health committee and you voted to confirm somebody that by all accounts from the medical and scientific community and his own family is actually making America less healthy. Yeah, well, the answer now is what the F are you going to do about it? The vote's over. Go screw yourself. So that's it. And that's it for Heather Cox Richardson. So a good roundup. That's true. Brought us to a lot more discussion of the finer points of some of the things that we rounded up with Greg. And now, on to a couple of other items of some interest here. Let's see. Here's one that we hinted at on the way out the door on Friday, and now it's probably a good time to fill in the blanks here from the Washington Post. Perry Stein, Rachel Siegel, and Katie Mettler teaming up on this report. Prosecutors quiz witness on Ed Martin, Bill Pulte moves in Schiff case, one of the other targeted prosecutions that they haven't actually made very much progress on so far, but that comes out of the same portfolio as the Lisa Cook and, I've forgotten already. Who else are we targeting with this one? Letitia James. And their third card in this hand was supposed to be Adam Schiff. Again, Bill Pulte digging up information at the Federal Housing Finance Agency, looking for, basically knowing that anybody who has put together enough capital in the last couple of years to buy a second home, not whether they regard it as their second home or not, but a second property, is likely to have taken advantage of the tax loophole that Bill Pulte's companies very frequently advise people to take advantage of in claiming that they are their primary residences, and so therefore they should all be charged with mortgage fraud. What's going on? And what's actually happening here? The two Trump loyalists, Ed Martin, now pardon attorney and weaponization working group guy, and maybe 10 other hats as far as I know, plus Bill Pulte, who also wears too many hats. These are the two Trump loyalists we're talking about. They've been pursuing claims of mortgage fraud against Schiff, in addition to the other two. A Democratic senator, Schiff has denied wrongdoing, and with good reason. The other two also weren't guilty of that wrongdoing, and maybe Schiff isn't either. Federal prosecutors spent more than an hour on Thursday questioning a California Republican activist about her contact with Trump administration officials over their mortgage fraud investigation into Senator Adam Schiff, the woman told the Washington Post. So I guess basically we got another Laura Loomer type out there basically saying, I heard Adam Schiff's guilty. You should absolutely smear his name without any evidence. And if you don't have any evidence, go make it up or gather it or whatever. But if you can't gather it, you can just hint that you very strongly think you have it. And that should be enough to get in a newspaper. The interview with Christine Bish. I don't think we know this person, but it's Bish. That's her real name, Bish, though you don't want to mispronounce that one. A GOP activist and a real estate agent in California who will likely also know, sure, I encourage people to do this same fraud all the time. That's how I know it happens all over the place, just like Bill Pulte, who also happens to be running for Congress, though, by the way. Bish appeared to focus on whether Justice Department official Ed Martin and Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Bill Pulte used inappropriate tactics to launch probes of President Donald Trump's political foes, including Schiff. Federal officials appeared to be questioning whether Martin and Pulte divulged information about an ongoing criminal investigation of Schiff with people who were not authorized to be a part of it, according to a subpoena issued in the case, and another person familiar with the interview who spoke on condition of anonymity because they didn't want their family threatened, I'm sure. Pulte has accused Schiff, New York Attorney General Letitia James, and others of committing fraud by claiming in documents multiple homes as their primary residences, which can sometimes help buyers secure lower mortgage rates. They've just erased Lisa Cook from this entirely, which on the one hand is good because she's the one, I think, at this point most clearly not actually guilty of any of this stuff. But it's interesting that she's dropped from the recitation when you could be saying, look at how many other specific examples of them doing this very wrong and incorrect, and really, honestly, illegal and certainly unethical thing. And there are several names to which this is attached. But on the other hand, I think it's good at some point to let her off the hook already and stop naming her and all this. So anyway, the investigation into Schiff may have gotten a boost from Bish, who told the Post that she has been examining public records around Schiff's 2 homes for years and submitted her findings to a tip line that Pulte had set up seeking evidence of mortgage fraud across the country. In August, Bish re-upped on social media one of Pulte's public calls to report tips about fraud, saying, "I did, and Schiff is now under federal investigation." By the way, I think she's claiming too much credit here. She may have been investigating Schiff before Pulte ever did, because she was, interested in running for his seat, perhaps, or, targeting a California-based opponent of the president. I'm sure that could have been a motivation all by itself. But interesting. I think this is, intentionally obscuring the chronology here. But and she may also have. I think Pulte may have done this on purpose as well. I've recently found out that it would be considered unethical and possibly illegal for me to rifle through our files in search of evidence that we could use to frame up the president's enemies. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to establish a tip line. And then what you could do, if you have information about possible mortgage fraud by any of these enemy names, call us up. And if you don't, but you are willing to get involved, I could give you that information, and then you could launder it by calling the tip line and spilling it to the tip line. And I would say, this information didn't come from my illegal and unethical search of federal housing information. It came from the tip line. Thank you, Christine Bish, for coming up with exactly the tip I needed in order to launch an investigation, because if I find it myself, that's illegal and unconstitutional and unethical. Thanks. I think there might be a little bit of that going on. All right. Bish said she arrived at the meeting with prosecutors Thursday morning expecting to be asked about Schiff and his mortgages, and instead, she said, she was questioned about Pulte and Martin. What a shift. I like it. 2 of Trump's staunchest and most outspoken loyalists. Bish did not appear in front of a grand jury on Thursday, but said prosecutors told her to return to Maryland in the future to testify. They seemed more interested in the investigators than actually getting to the bottom of my complaint, she said. They were very polite, very professional, but not focused on what I believe to be the focus of the investigation. Well, it's not your investigation now, is it? It's theirs. The focus of your investigation was Schiff. The focus of their investigation happens to be you. And I think it might be for the reasons I was just explaining. Were you really just laundering Pulte's own rifling through people's files? Justice Department officials have struggled so far to build a viable case against Schiff and the others that they've charged with this, by the way, unable to find ample evidence showing that he intentionally committed fraud, according to 2 people familiar with the matter, who, of course, spoke on condition of what? Anonymity. Why? Various reasons. Legal experts say the case against James could also be tough to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in court. And by the way, just for good measure, the case against Cook would be difficult to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in court as well, because there's no evidence of any of this stuff happening. Bish said she received a subpoena last Friday demanding that she appear in federal court in Greenbelt, Maryland on Thursday morning. The subpoena asked Bish to provide any communication and documentation she had with people claiming to be Pulte. Wow. His chief of staff, or anyone saying that they're working at the direction of Martin, the Justice Department, Fannie Mae, or Freddie Mac. According to a copy of the subpoena reviewed by the Post, in an unprecedented move, Pulte made himself the chairman of the boards of both Fannie and Freddie, mortgage giants, of course, that have been under government oversight since the financial crisis of 2008. So he's got 19 hats going on as well. I kept asking, why are we doing this? I'm here to answer questions about the documentation of my allegations against Adam Schiff. Bish said, no. Sorry, you're not, Bish. They were more concerned with my communications, if any, with Pulte and Martin or anyone else that worked with them. I had been very clear I was doing this on my own, and none of these people were in office when I started. Pulte did not respond to a request for comment about this. Neither did a representative for Schiff's office. The subpoena also asked for any contact that Bish may have had with Scott Strauss, a former Justice Department prosecutor who was pushed out of his job after attempting to launch investigations of baseless voter fraud conspiracy theories tied to the 2020 election. According to 3 other people familiar with this matter, also speaking on condition of anonymity, it also sought any communication Bish had with Robert Bowes, B-O-W-E-S, a former banker who was a political appointee at the Department of Housing and Urban Development during the first Trump administration, but does not currently appear to have any formal ties to Pulte or the FHFA. Bish told the Post she has not had any direct contact with Martin or Pulte. I doubt that. She said Pulte called her once over the summer. See, told you were lying. But she was recovering from a medical procedure and did not return his call. Bish said she spoke with Bowes during the Schiff investigation and had also been contacted by Neil McCabe, who works closely with Martin at the Justice Department. She said McCabe identified himself as an investigator, though at the time Bish said she wasn't aware that he worked at the department. Who would be investigating? Except, I don't know, someone from the Department of Justice, perhaps, maybe, FBI, I don't know. All right, well, anyway, it's almost gotten to the end here, but we're not going to make it all the way through. Sounds like they basically got Bish's number on this one, but it's entirely possible that she had been investigating earlier. But I love the expression of shock. What, they're investigating me? Why would that be happening? Well, because everything Trump touches dies.
Kagro in the morning with David Waldman.
It's funny, everybody seems to think they're immune from that until they end up getting investigated, and Trump either calls them a traitor or throws them overboard or just ignores them. All right, next up, Justice Putnam in the West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, as always, right here on Netroots Radio. And guess what's up first? Pam Bondi and Epstein, so stay tuned.